We remade all the quilts in our book, 1 Block 3-Yard Quilts, with Christmas fabric.
Join us as we look at all 8 patterns with a fresh new look.
Hi, it's Donna Robertson.
And Fran Morgan with Fabric Café.
Last year, Jamie asked to see all of the 1 Block quilts in Christmas fabric.
Well, Jamie, it took a little time to get all of these quilts made, but we did it. I think we found the perfect fabric for each pattern. Let's check out the first one. Every pattern in the 1 Block book is made with just 1 block. Now there's a few quilts in the book, like Jules, this one for instance, that is made with the same exact block. We've just switched the colorway on the alternate block. So you're gonna make half of them with a color placement in one way, which is like this right here, and then the other half of the blocks made in a different colorway. But it's the exact same block, so it makes it super, super simple. No problem at all. And you know how it is when you're making 1 Block quilts, you kind of get in that groove, so you're making it, you're remembering the measurements and what goes next. It really keeps the quilting experience kind of peaceful and fun. And what's really cool is the pattern like Jules. You can use a beautiful floral like we've done here, or you can use some really textural prints or even smaller prints. It's going to work fabulous in this pattern. So let's get this one on the table and check out the fabric. I would like to actually block out the block for you, use our cropping tool here and show you how easy this is to make. So our first block is, here are the outer parameters of our block. So all of this right here. So the first thing we're going to do is make a unit that includes a half square triangle, a square, and a second half square triangle, just turning them according to the diagram. These are just 3 blocks put together. So kind of be thinking like 9-patch style a little bit. That's kind of how this is.
Yeah.
Now our second unit, this unit basically is the same thing. We have 3 different blocks. We have a square, a half square triangle, and a square. And we sew those together. So now we have 2 kind of rectangular units that we've put together. And our very last one is the easiest of all, 1 half square triangle and a long rectangle. We're gonna sew all of these together, and that makes our block. Now what's really cool about this 1 Block quilt, we're gonna make this exact block again, but we're just kind of flip-flopping our colors a little bit. And you can see, instead of having the red on the outside, we have our number 2. So instead of our number 3, we have our number 2. Of course, these are made exactly the same, just switching out those color placements on the half square triangles and rotating and doing all the things that are so easy to do when you're putting it together. Then when we put it together, it looks like we have this great big block, which creates like our diamond on top of a square, which is so very cool. Well, let's talk about this gorgeous fabric.
Yes.
Because the Jules quilt made in this gorgeous poinsettia fabric, it is so pretty the way the fabric number 1 falls in the diamonds.
And
really, really
this is a good example of using a larger print, because these are nice size poinsettias, but it comes together so beautifully because it's sort of like looking into the Christmas tree and seeing pieces and parts, because you've got branches.
Look at that one, and look at that ornament.
Yeah, because you've got those branches, and that's kind of what it makes me think of.
Yes, and I love that we've paired our beautiful focus with 2 more simple prints to really highlight it. So we've paired it with a number 2, and it's a nice warm white here. And you can see it's in half of our blocks to create this outer section of our block. It also has just a little sprinkling of gold on it, which I think helps really unify these fabrics together. And then our number 3, we went with this beautiful red. And it's the perfect red to go with our focus fabric. I think it adds just enough interest without being overpowering. I think it really still adds great contrast. I think it's gorgeous together.
It is gorgeous.
All righty, the kit information on this is Poinsettia Serenade, and it is our Jules pattern from 1 Block 3-Yard Quilts.
Now, Tumbler is a great pattern for you to use if you're new to half square triangles. And let me tell you a little bit about that. I always say that when you're making a half square triangle and you put those 2 squares together and make those half square triangles, you've actually made 2 half square triangles. So it goes together so fast. And they're such a nice big size, you don't have quite as many that you have to make. Now this pattern is like a 1 block in a 1 block. So you've got this great big block that's made up with these units that are all made exactly the same way. They just come together in this really fun triangle diamond shape. Now this fabric it just says fun from beginning to end. It is such a fun fabric. First of all, I love words on a quilt. I always say you say it with a quilt because you're saying I love you, and this one is saying Merry Christmas.
Yes.
I love all of the different words on this. It says merry and bright.
And joy and snow and believe.
I believe I love this fabric. So this one's gorgeous. It's the number 1 fabric. Is going to go every place that you see the green in the quilt. And one tip on this is this particular quilt works wonderful with tossed fabric. It's not so great with directional fabric because all of these units are going to be turned to make the one big block. So you're going to be rotating those units on each one of these to make this great design. But tossed just simply means that your design is going every which way. There's not one direction that you have to maintain. Well, look at these great stars and the number 2. That is so sweet. I love the way there's the high contrast because as usual, we say with that number 2, it's really creating the background for the design of the quilt. So that's the number 2 fabric. Now the number 3 fabric coordinates perfectly, and as you've noticed, we are picking out 3 different prints for this quilt, but we've also got the different sizes, the scale that's showing up as well. So these great little green peppermints, that picks up the green in that number 1 fabric. Isn't that fun?
It is so much fun.
And then the red is picking up the words in this as well as your stars here. So we've got the red going every place that you see here. Now, I told you that this was a great quilt, lots of fun from beginning to end. So let's show the ending this time.
Oh.
Because look at this incredible backing. Is that not fun, fun, fun?
So fun.
I love it.
It just, the party carries on in the back.
It does. It's just a great quilt, and I love that backing that we put on this particular
great.
one. It is so sweet. Now this kit is called Peppermint Twist, and the pattern is Tumbler.
Now this is our heritage pattern, and this pattern offers some great separation between your fabric number 1 and your fabric number 2. We have used our fabric number 3 to separate these 2 fabrics. And what's really great about that is that you can use a really nice print in your number 1, which is your focus, of course, we love to do that. But you can also use a print in your number 2 position because they're separated. And that gives it some really nice interest and keeps all the fun going on the surface of the quilt. Now, this quilt is a 1 block, believe it or not. It kind of tricks the eye a little bit because you're kind of thinking this should be the block right here. But in reality, the block is here, which is a little tricky. But we're going to put it on the table, get our cropping tool out, and I'll show you exactly where it is and check out this great fabric.
I still remember when I met this quilt, and you brought it in and said, Mom, look at this one. And I looked at it and I said, Fran, this is a 1 block quilt.
Yeah.
Because it looked to me like she had made 2 different blocks.
Yes, but the way
But
we've...
it's not.
Yeah. It's kind of fun construction. So we're going to use our cropping tool here. And the first thing I'm going to do is the outer borders again so you can kind of get an idea of what the block is. So basically, your eye wants to think that it's different. But in every block, the very center has this little twist there. Now, this is all built with strip piecing. And we're going to start with the center right here. And basically we have a little strip piece unit right here. And then we're going to add 2 strip piece units on each side. So here's one. We just have 2 fabrics. We've turned it sideways and sewn it onto our center. And then we've done it again with the exact same unit. We've just turned it the other direction. Now we have a second unit to make our block. And this is also a strip piece unit, and it's made with 3 fabrics, our focus, our light, and our dark. So here, you're going to use the exact same unit and sew it to the other side. Let me find my seam. But we've just turned it around the other way. So that keeps it really easy.
Super easy.
Really, really easy.
For a very intricate looking quilt.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you put it all together, and it's a really cool block. Then when you put your blocks together, oh my goodness, this is amazing how it's like, this is a square and this is a square, but it's not. It's here, here, here. Now, this gorgeous fabric. This fabric is striking. I bet you guys are thinking the same thing because the colors in it are rich. Yeah. We have these mandalas or these designs here.
You know what it looks like to me is like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of looks like, because when you turn a kaleidoscope and you get all these different fractal patterns, and it's just gorgeous.
It really is. So this is our focus fabric, and it goes here. Now, I want to mention about choosing your fabrics whenever you make this pattern. Because of the way the blocks are made, it's going to be most successful if you keep your patterns more of a roundy, flourishy, moving print instead of a very angular or linear print, because we do have our seams here. And because of this all over flowy movement of our focus fabric, when they meet in the center, you still get that great effect and that great color, but you don't have any hard edges.
And with this fabric, back to the kaleidoscope look, the centers of those just have a little bit of a look like a kaleidoscope, that they're making another pattern in the center. It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful in this quilt. Okay, so our number 2 fabric that we chose is a nice cream with metallic flourishes and little bitty Christmas trees. It's so cute. And little ornaments too. You can see here it's in our blocks, in our very center, and our little stones, stepping stones there. And so this is great because it gives us that contrast that we've got our cream and then we've got our really bold print. I really like that. Now we've put these with a number 3 fabric that has a lot of contrast. We're keeping this simple because this is what's creating this line that your eye follows.
Yes.
Which is very important. The greens in this fabric go light and dark, so you have a lot of difference in value there, but it's all sprinkled with a snowfall of gold, which is so striking.
It's a very elegant quilt.
It is a very, very elegant quilt. So let me get you the kit information. It is called Opulent, Evergreen, and the pattern is Heritage.
Now, Connections is a wonderful 3D effect to this quilt pattern. It looks like your smaller blocks are like floating on the surface of the quilt. And the borders are they're just striking the way that we've put the different colors on the border so that the number 1 is sandwiched between the others. It beautifully frames the quilt. This quilt is made very simply with squares and strip assemblies, and I'm going to crop it out on the table and show you how easy it is to make. I want to go ahead and block this quilt out so that you can see how cool it is. It starts off with a super simple square, just like so. So we're going to start off with this, and we have a nice little square here of the number 1 fabric, and then we're going to create a strip piece right here, and that strip piece has the number 3 and the number 1 together, so that you're going to sew that strip piece on the side of this square, and then we're going to create another strip piece right here, and that is going to be sewn to the bottom of that. So you've got that super simple square. We're going to do the same thing on the same block. It's made exactly the same way, where you have the square here with the strip pieces sewn on the side and on the other side.
It's so cool because this block almost doesn't look like the other block, but they're exactly the same. So it's a trick of the eye.
It's that illusion with the different colors because as we've talked about before, some colors recede and some come forward. So let's look at this actually gorgeous, gorgeous fabric. Yes. We have these beautiful Christmas roses.
They're so
pretty.
They
are so pretty.
And I love how it's combined with the the pine or the evergreen and the pine cones and the berries. And
So this is the number 1, and it's going to go in all of these areas. And we've also sandwiched a little bit of the number 1 on the border with the other 2. I like that look. It looks great. And then our number 2 is this wonderful gold metallic snowflake. And that is causing that wonderful high contrast with the other 2 colors so that you really do get that dimensional look, like you've stacked fabric on top of each other.
It looks
that goes everywhere that you see here on the quilt. Now for the number 3, we picked exactly the same print in the same line, but it is red. So you're really getting a great high contrast even though you're using a similar size of print there. So this particular kit is called Christmas Bouquet, and it is the Connections pattern.
Now, our Synergy quilt is deceptively simple, but whenever you're looking at it, you're not quite sure how it's put together. So let me show you the block. It is actually right here. So you see where this is kind of kissing right here? That is actually the very center of the block. This block is so easy to do. We have 2 half-square triangles. They are bordered on 2 sides, and then we have a plain square and a plain square right there. Then when you start putting all of this together, it creates this really cool, really big kind of pinwheel effect with these squares here to give it some dimension. Now what's really cool about this, whenever you're putting the quilt together, you're putting your rows together, this little part right here is kind of like your cheater. You're going to be able to lay it out, and you'll know if your blocks aren't going the right direction because these will not match up if they're turned the wrong way. So it's a really great way to make sure you get it right the first time, which you know we love. We went a little bit more modern.
I love it.
And it's kind of in the colorway because the pattern, I think, calls for that. But we put just a hint of whimsy in there with our candy canes, but the coloring is so perfect, and we picked up the colors of the candy canes.
Well, we could call it modern whimsical. Because it is.
Yeah. So on our focus fabric, we did this nice tossed candy cane on black, and I think it's so much fun. And you can see here, it's in our squares and our half-square triangles in every block, as well as a little on our border, which I think frames it in really, really nice.
And the polka dot adds so much interest to those. I mean, I think it would probably be a little bit boring if it was just the candy canes, but it looks adorable with those dots.
Yeah, it's so fun. So for our number 2, we went very simple, just a nice texture in this. So it's in our squares, in all of our blocks, as well as our half-square triangles. And I think that gives us the nice contrast that we really, really need for this quilt. So I think it works perfectly. And then for our number 3, we picked up a nice red with a snowflake on it, which looks beautiful with our candy canes. And I love the red, white, and black. I think it's just such a great colorway.
And I love the way that, once again, you've created the dimension with your color so that it looks like you've got these giant pinwheels with these, like you're looking through a window and a giant pinwheel.
Yeah, it looks like it's the window frames, the mullions on the windows. It's very cool, and it gives a lot of dimension to the quilt, I think.
I like that.
But to get that, you have to keep your high contrast.
Yes.
All right, let me get you the kit information on this. It is called Candy Cane Corner, and it's our Synergy pattern.
Now, Evening Stroll is a great pattern if you have a directional fabric that you want to show off, because you've got these nice big 8-inch blocks. The pattern is so versatile, and it depends on what type of fabric you put in it, that it will make it just totally change the aesthetic. If you're using metallics or traditional prints or large elegant florals, it really highlights the elegance of the quilts and gives those wonderful diamonds a regal effect right here. The possibilities are endless. You could even go retro with it and pick more vintage style prints, and the diamonds become reminiscent of a 50s checkerboard pattern. So let's look at this great fabric. So these are bordered blocks. So of course we started out with this square right here in the middle of the block. And then we created borders so that you could actually get this diamond look pattern. We've created the borders with the half square triangles. So here's, you're gonna make these 2 strips, this one and then you're going to add the same thing down here on the bottom of the square. And then we create one over here. And what's cool about this one is that this part is the same. So see, it's just like what I showed you up here. And then you just add squares onto the ends of it. So it's pretty simple to, once you've made one little unit, then you can just add those squares onto that same portion, and you get this great block like this. Now, one of the things that I also like about this is that whenever you put your corners together, what you end up with is this great. So this is just blocks sewn side by side, but you get this great big diamond that mixes with those little diamonds.
I love this. I mean, it creates that secondary pattern that you don't even realize you're going to be creating. And it really is a neat effect, having your eye go down and across.
Right. Okay, so let's look at this fabric. We picked a really traditional poinsettia. So that is going to go everywhere that you see these squares, and that's what they are. They're just a nice 8-inch square. So not much work there. Then you've got your red and white that we've chosen for our half square triangles. So it's real simple, white on white snowflakes, and that's going to go everywhere you see here. So all of your half square triangles are done with the white and the red. And then we have a nice scroll for that number 3. And you can see what a gorgeous quilt this is going to make.
It's gorgeous. And you know, I was noticing, because these squares are not rotated, it's still a one block, you could use a directional fabric in this position.
Yes.
So if you have some directional Christmas fabric, this would be a great quilt to do.
You know, I think this quilt would make an absolutely gorgeous king-size bed quilt.
Yes.
That would make your bedroom really festive as well.
So pretty.
And, you know, all of the patterns in this book have the enlargements for twin and king queen.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, and you can get this book free if you order at least 3 kits. So any 3 kits that you've seen in this particular video, you can get this book free. Now this kit is called Yuletide Garden, and it's the evening stroll pattern.
Now this one block quilt is our memories quilt. This is so simple to put together. Now in this case, we have exactly the same fabric placement in every single block. All we've done is just turned them to give a little bit more interest. And this block is so easy to put together. It's just done with strip piecing, so it's going to go super fast. Now, when I originally designed Memories, I thought it kind of looked like one of those boards with the ribbons that you would tuck little notes and mementos in, because I kind of think these look like ribbons with little notes tucked in it. I think it's kind of fun. But now we've got it in Christmas fabric. And wouldn't this be darling if you put a little applique bow right here so it looked like a little Christmas present? Or even just tied a satin ribbon on top and tacked it. I think it would be so cute. I think you could do so many things with this very fun pattern. So our Fun Memories quilt is perfect for small textural prints. So we've done that here. Our focus fabric, we chose red because the red is a dominant color and we wanted it to come forward. But you know what? You could easily switch your 1 and 3 on this quilt very simply. So if you prefer the green to be your dominant, you could put it there and the red would be your sashing.
That would look cute too.
It would look really cute, wouldn't it? Now we've chosen our red, and this red has a fun big snowflake on it with lots of little swirls on it. I think it's really, really cute.
I like it.
And you can see it's in every block. It's our spot right in the middle here, pieced together very simply. Now for our number 2, we have gone with a fabric that ties our 1 and 3 together. We chose a nice white with a holly berry. I think it gives it even more dimension, being a little bit of a print.
Yes. And you know, it's really kind of interesting because it's the number 2 fabric, but it doesn't have the largest print necessarily. This is a larger print.
That's right.
But just because of the coloration, it just seems to really become almost like a focus fabric with the number 2. It's gorgeous.
It's very fun. It's perfect for our number 2 for this quilt. Now for our number 3 fabric, we talked about our green. This is the same print as our number 1, just in green. And this is what gives us our little ribbon effect on our quilt. We also have some corners here coming together to add a little interest right there. And I think it just looks great tying it all together.
I think so too.
Yeah. Okay, let's get you the kit info on this. It is called Snowflake Wishes, and the pattern is Memories.
Now, Crosswalk has the same block made in 2 different colorways. We've just made the blocks, starting out with strip assemblies, and it is just so cool. The center of the block is a strip assembly unit, and then you just start adding strips to the sides of the block. And as you build out from it, it creates this great, interesting block. When they all come together, you have all this movement and so much interest in this quilt, and it really puts the fabric all over the top of this quilt. What's really cool in this particular pattern is you could use prints in all 3 of the positions, like what we've done here to give you an example. Makes a very interesting quilt, one that you've got lots to look at, which is always fun. And as long as you make them in different colors, different scales, and the different contrast, you want that to go on too. So our number 1 fabric is a great metallic ornament fabric. It's so sweet. Yeah. So these are all a little bit smaller prints because we do have some strips that are kind of small. But in the number 1 position is the ornament, which is our largest print of the 3. And then we have our snowflakes, which is a gold snowflake on a cream background. And you can look at this quilt and you can see very readily how important that number 2 is.
Yes.
Because it created that background for those other 2 colors. So the number 2 is going everywhere that you see here. And then the number 3 fabric is the candy cane. And the candy cane is a little more spread out, has a little bit more background showing. So that works for the place for you to kind of rest your eye whenever you're looking at the quilt. And it does create a nice contrast with your number 1, as you can see here.
And I like that the number 3 has that little green bow ever so often, tying the candy canes together to tie the green of the focus fabric in. I think that's perfect.
I think that's a great point. And then the gold in the snowflakes really picks up the gold that's in the other fabrics as well. So the kit information on this is Twinkling Trinkets, and it's the Crosswalk pattern. Jamie, thanks so much for making the suggestion to use Christmas fabric in all of these patterns. I think the quilts turned out so beautiful. It was such a great idea.
Yes, and if anyone else has a book that they would like redone in Christmas fabrics, or some other fabrics, let us know in the comments.
And if you would like to see what our book, The Magic of 3-Yard Quilts, looks like in Christmas fabrics, then be sure to watch the video that pops up. Happy quilting!